Thank you very much, Daniel. So my name is Olga Świerkot-Stróżewska. I'm Director of International Relations and Statistical Cooperation Department at Statistics Poland. And together with my dear colleagues and friends, Dominika Rogalińska, the Director of Spatial and Environmental Service Department, and Renata Bielak, the Director of Statistical Products Department at Statistics Poland, we are going to talk briefly today about the kind of experience that we had at Statistics Poland within the statistical capacity building or development, as we used to call it right now. We are going to talk about application and testing of an internationally developed tool for domestic purposes. And we are going to talk about sustainable use of resources, human resources, financial resources, and how actually we can match internationally developed tool with what is happening inside our office. We are talking about this experience. And this tool has been developed within the SDG steering group in UNEC region, and Renata will introduce this briefly.
Yes, thank you, Olga, and good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to briefly introduce the UNEC steering group, which developed this matrix we are talking about. So okay, I have the right slide, thank you. In 2016, Conference of European Statisticians set up a steering group to guide and coordinate CES work on statistics for SDGs. From the beginning, this steering group on statistics for SDGs aims to support countries in the measurement progress of SDGs and in communicating statistics for SDGs. Currently, the group is co-chaired by Sweden, my dear co-chair Sarah Frankel, who is here with us, and by Poland, by me. The latest and most significant output of the steering group is the roadmap on statistics for SDGs. This roadmap, this is already the second edition of the roadmap, and it was released in February this year. And this roadmap gives NSOs and other stakeholders comprehensive guidelines on how implement the efficient system for producing and disseminating data for SDGs. We brought some leaflets, promotional leaflets about the roadmap, so you can read more about this product. These materials are available in front of our room. When we identify some issues that need special attention or special focus, the steering group can set up task teams. And at the moment, we have 3 task teams supporting working within the steering group. So task team about capacity development, about data transmission, and about communication. And next slide, please. And this matrix we are talking about was developed by the task team on capacity development, co-chaired by Italy and Montenegro. It was elaborated as a tool for assessing statistical capacity. So it's a tool to recognize both sides, demand and supply. For countries that require to enhance statistical capacity, matrix helps to identify all needs and priorities. And this tool was already tested from this perspective by Albania and by Armenia. But matrix was also foreseen for countries willing to share their knowledge and experience to support other countries. And from this donor's perspective, it could be used as a tool to diagnose what potential we have to share. As we in Statistics Poland love challenges, we decided that we want to check how useful tool the matrix is, and Olga will tell you about our findings from this exercise.
Thank you, Renata. Definitely I will. I will do it with pleasure. So yeah, the whole think is about the matrix for capacity development. As Renata said, the matrix was developed initially for the beneficiary countries, for the partners, because sometimes we realize actually in 2018, and this is the slide that you are seeing right now, in UNEC region, the whole conception about the capacity development has changed then, and the new strategy of capacity development was released then in 2018, when they adopted, actually the countries adopted more holistic approach, because before it was more or less about training, and then decided it's more than the training. It's like they are like methods, technology, processes, information, standards, and everything has to play together. And with these strategy in mind, and having SDGs there as well, the steering group started thinking about kind of operationalizing that. And voila, they came up with the idea of a matrix, because they actually realized that sometimes in beneficiary countries, there's no awareness what they actually need from the donor countries. That's why they came up with this tool. And inside Statistics Poland, next slide, please, Daniel, thank you. We actually started developing our international relations strategy, and we started working intensely on that in 2018. And we actually realized more or less the same, that we as a big organization in headquarters of Statistics Poland, we are more than 5,500 people, that we are not really aware of our potential, human potential, in case of different sorts of projects that we started being actively engaged in, like consortium projects, technical cooperation projects, twinning projects, European projects, international projects. There were so many, and with administrative procedures that took a lot of time usually, we actually thought that it might be good that we test actually our potential, how many real experts we had at Statistics Poland ready to actually go somewhere and to share their experience and to actually talk about their work with our partners. We did it a little bit awkwardly, so this is a little bit of kitchen, like a background perspective, because we took our program of statistical surveys and we actually approached our experts in headquarters and in regional statistical offices, asking them, are you ready to potentially ready to go and to actually share your knowledge with our partners, and it wasn't very useful. So and the whole story was developed afterwards, and I'm going to talk briefly right now about that. Next slide, please. So you can see that in 2018, as I said, we created this phase base of experts, and as I was saying, the task was quite time-consuming, had no structured breakdown. That's why, next slide, please, the matrix came really right on time, because it was simple in form but very detailed in content, and its primary purpose was to make the beneficiary countries aware of what they have, what resources they dispose. But we tried in Statistics Poland, and that's why it's a kind of innovative approach, because we reversed the perspective, as Renata said before, and we tried to test this tool from the donor country perspective. So take this tool, analyze it, and see if we at Statistics Poland can use it to assess our human resources potential, and to actually use it for different purposes also, as well, as Dominika will explain later. So what we did actually, because let's use the euphemism here, the tool was not very user-friendly in its initial shape. So it was when our experts were approached for the first time with this tool, they had absolutely no clue how to manage it. So it actually required a lot of kind of background work from the international relations team to persuade people and to explain the tool. And also this reversed perspective that we adopted required some kind of shifting in thinking. So we actually needed to adapt the content of this matrix to the donor country's perspective. And as you can see, this matrix has 4 dimensions: strategic dimension, organizational dimension, statistical domains, and IT dimension. Next slide, please. And you are going to see right now a couple of screenshots just to give you the kind of glimpse of what the tool really looks like. So you can see it's a huge Excel file, that had to be actually cracked and divided into 4 different categories. And you can see right now that there was a lot of thought actually given and a lot of work done to define all these very detailed sometimes tasks and categories, just to realize, just to make people realize what they actually do on the daily basis and to find themselves there and to put the cross. So it's very simple in thinking, but very detailed in content. Could you please show this couple of images? You can see here the organizational dimension. So we added colors here, statistical domains, and IT dimension. You will see the presentation, and you will have to you will be able to see how detailed it is. And our main finding was actually that sometimes maybe these categories can be pulled together because it was even too detailed. Next slide, please. Yeah. Here you have, for instance, can you please go back to the, yeah. Here you have, for instance, strategic management and cooperation. So there was really kind of sometimes difficult to understand for our experts that the people who manage the teams should all be there. So there was a lot of field work required to talk with the directors, not to actually to kind of strategically approach this tool. Next slide, please. Thank you. So who was tested in the pilot? We tested, as I was saying, in our case, departments. These are the organizational units at Statistics Poland. So we tested all the employees and directors of these departments. And we also tested 16 statistical offices in our regions, because Poland is divided into 16 regions, and each region has a statistical office there. So we have a huge human resources potential, and the specificity of our country is that each statistical office in each region is specialized in different sort of statistics. For instance, in statistical office in Krakow deals with health statistics and culture statistics. And there is like a daily basis cooperation with the headquarters Department of Social Surveys. So we tried not to exclude these experts and to have them on board when it comes to our pilots. Next slide, please. We did it like in 2 waves, in March 2022 and in July 2022. And we consulted about 5,500 persons. Why we did it in two approaches? Because of our main finding, the March phase has shown that a lot of people didn't understand what the tool was actually about. It was too detailed, and there was a kind of natural reluctance of people that maybe I'm not too good to actually put across there and to go and share my experience with our partner countries. So lots of background work, field work has to be done. And then we actually repeated it in July, and we had these results. So we can say right now that we covered the strategic dimension at 92.6%, organizational dimension 69.4%, statistical domains, which is tricky, 65.5%, and IT dimension was covered at 86.7%. So all these very detailed categories were analyzed, and we can just right now say that this is our result. And when we talk about numbers, we have over 170 experts ready to provide support in case we have a project. So this is very convenient because we already have a very detailed database and we don't have to do this exercise every time. So we just appeal to the people that put their names there. And it makes all the procedure more quicker and more efficient. And actually, I will just right now hand over to Dominika because we found another kind of application of this tool useful. It's a kind of to motivate people, to boost the potential of people, because the international engagement in our case, it's a kind of, how to say that, +10 to our career path development. And it also proves a kind of maturity of the institution. That's why Dominika will now give you the example what actually can be done taking on board the findings of this pilot exercise with the matrix.
Okay, thank you very much, Olga. So I'd like to give you an example of using the CD matrix in practice. I'm responsible also for innovation statistics and for data science, big data, some external resources. And we've applied the experience to prepare the assumptions for the internal data science capacity building program called Data Science Academy. It's for Statistics Poland. It's the flagship project. And the project was launched this year on March. And it's the main goal is to build a modern organization. We want to be the modern organization, yes, able to anticipate and target fast-changing information needs through the use of multiple data sources. And there are 3 specific objectives. So the first one is to increase the integration of administrative and big data sources in statistical production, in experimental and also official production. Then secondly, to improve competences in big data by using those new data sources, methods, tools and techniques. Then I think that it's more important for us to build community, data science community, enhance collaboration, knowledge sharing, exchange of experience, mentoring, and develop an internal communication platform. So the program buys ideas also from work done by on international level. And for instance, the competency framework developed by the UN CBD task team on training, competences and capacity development. Task of this group helps us assign relevant competences and proficiency levels to each function within the academy. You can see on the website for this UN community of experts on big data and data science for official statistics. There are very good website with all the tools which maybe help you with those things. And the idea behind the academy is to, the next one, please. Okay, is to develop competences and skills towards individually defined development paths for each of its members. And here are the functions according to a simplified production process. And all activities at the academy are carried out on a cyclical basis, starting from acquisition, then development and retention of employees. So we are at the first stage of this project. We are facing requirement for possession of the academy, and in this task we use this matrix, CD matrix, and it helps us. So I did like a cycle.
Yeah.
For you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dominika. And this is for summing up because we already took a lot of your precious time. So it's basically to say that. Sometimes it is really useful to look around and to say that there's some that maybe in international where there are already tools that may help also kind of make a change within the institution, go towards the modern, innovative institution. So if we, after this pilot, if we need to assess the usefulness of this tool, we can say that after many enhancements and changes that we introduced to adapt it to the donor perspective, the usefulness is really high because from the managerial point of view, it makes the processes really simpler if we have this database of experts. And there has a huge potential to actually better pair the needs with the capacity possibilities of such a big institutions as we are, and also of the partner countries. And of course, our main finding, number one here on slide, is that it should be put online because we are in the 21st century and it cannot be an Excel file. So this was our main recommendation, to actually digitize that. Of course, it should be really easily adaptable to different needs. But the main finding was that the tool that was internationally designed for beneficiary countries' purposes can also be used from the donor country perspective and actually can be used with success. So thank you very much for your attention. We hope that we were not boring. Thank you.
Okay, many thanks for the presentation and for joining us. A recognition for the work developed, highlighting that the framework implementation is one of the tasks of the IAEG-SDGs. And even we have mostly completed our task in terms of methodologies, there is still a lot of work to do for having available measures for all SDGs, since the number of countries in having data for all SDGs is 0. So to have both the demand and supply side in terms of capacity building and also the innovative approach from the donor side are amazing ideas that shed light on who and how to continue with these discussions on capacity building. You are kindly invited to stay with us, enjoying the nice view for a little longer until we open the floor for comments and questions. But before that, let's move forward to our next presentation. For this, we will have John Jimin from UNSD, and also in representation of ECLAC and the Population Fund, with her presentation called SDG Monitoring and Reporting Resources. Over to you.
Thank you, Karen. And so I would like to present some of the SDG monitoring and reporting resources available on our website, mainly the Good Practice Wiki site, the small area estimation toolkits, the data storytelling, and also the voluntary national review resources. So the first one is a Good Practice Wiki site. So based on the Statistical Commission decision, the IAEG starting a questionnaire in 2021 to collect a good practice on SDG monitoring from the countries. So in 2021, we focused on the 4 categories: on national platforms, dashboard, SDG portals, and other progress assessment tool. And second is on communication of data for the goals. And third, on data disaggregation and the data gaps for the SDG indicator. And we also collect the capacity building priorities for SDG monitoring. And in 2022, so we revised the questionnaire, add 1 new area, and which is the use of non-traditional and innovative data sources and approach for the SDG indicators. So we sent out the questionnaire in September, and currently we have about 66 or 8 country, 66 country by 6th of November responded to the question, either update their existing good practice on SDG monitoring or provide new information. So we just invite you, if you're interested in any area of SDG monitoring, you can visit our wiki website. This is a living document. We'll continue to update this website. Next slide, please. And second resource I want to introduce is a toolkit on using small area estimation for SDGs. This is also a wiki space to provide information on methods to produce disaggregate data using small area estimation methods. The main objectives is to provide practical tools with common accompanying case study for countries to use small area estimation for SDG monitoring. So this is to improve SDG data availability for mainly the vulnerable population groups, and also offering practical guidance and country case studies, and providing guidance on the enabling environment for using SEE for official data production, and also provide a space for partners to document and disseminate the SE methodology. So we have been working with a lot of partners from countries, from international organizations, and also from academias, and to document a lot of the practice on small area estimation. So this guide also use basically provide using like guiding through the steps with the practical examples. And so it's using 3 SDG indicators, provided from the hand-on exercise, including data and programming guide, and also to go through the different steps of the SE production process, such as the data preparation, and the selection of methods, analysis and adaptation, and evaluation and benchmarking. So there's rich information if you're interested in using small area estimation method. And next slide, please. And so in collaboration with ICLAC and also UNFPA, and we also developed this e-learning course on small area estimation. And so we provide reading materials and also recorded the video, about 50 video, each one is 10 to 15 minutes long, and organized under 10 modules. So we also provide evaluation material, including weekly computer grade assessment, 2 midterm project, and the final project, and also R programming language, and that can be used for the SAE modeling. There's 2 different type of learning. One is self-paced learning, and this is the learner can learn at their own pace. And the second is a guided learning. So for this learning, we need to hire instructor to guide learning and follow up on a fixed schedule that entail about 1 hour work per day for about 10 weeks. And so we're public. This is our planning for capacity building for different region, and possibly next year. And next slide, please. And in addition, on our website, we have this practical guide to data storytelling. So this site contains this practical guide to help country and NSOs better tell data stories for their audience. This is intended to help mainly statisticians and data scientists, policymakers, and analysts, and to tell convincing data stories in their voluntary national review, in SDG reporting, with a focus on understanding the context and the construction of the narrative. This practical guide contains examples drawn from the voluntary national review and the national SDG reporting, and as well as some other external resources. And we also provide a presentation and a video available for you to watch. And next slide, please. So another tool we provide is on data visualization tools. So this is a tool that they developed as a part of the USD FCDO project on SDG monitoring, aiming to support the country in data storytelling through infographics, reports, online platforms, and presentation and promotion material on social media. So this toolkit includes 300 icons for both the COVID-19 and also for all the SDG goals. And the icons are available in like a different format as VG format, meaning they can be easily dragged and dropped into your Microsoft programs as well as Adobe Illustrator and other Adobe programs. So we also provide templates to create infographics, reports, brochures, flyers, social media products. And we're working on producing some training material, e-learning material for people to use this guide and to how to use icon, similar to the one we included in the Global SDG report. Next slide, please. And the next resources we were working on and already the advanced version is already available is a practical guide for evidence-based voluntary national review. This is a complementary resource for countries on how to use the data and the statistic on SDG to support the more evidence based and data-driven voluntary national review. So this practical guide use a roadmap approach with good practical examples and outlining key stage in the national voluntary review process for enhance the use of data and the statistics. And this process can help to identify strengths and weakness of statistical systems and the statistical capacity building opportunities. So as I mentioned, the advanced version is already available. We're currently working on and try to finalize by the end of this month. Next slide, please. In addition, and on the Voluntary National Review website, we also include information on current resources and the training for VNR development from the SDG indicator custodians and also regional commissions. This is in response to requests from country in the previous VNR global workshop for more trainings and resources, such as on data integration, how to use big data, how to incorporate or find collect data for VNRs or on specific goals. So we send out a questionnaire to the custodian agency and the regional commission to collect this information, and we extended the deadline until the 14th of November. I think that's all. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, fantastic work. Many thanks for doing that, and good news for everyone, since now we all have this relevant information available 24/7 in a digital format. With this, I'm now opening the floor for comments and questions for either the Polish group and or for Jonji. Okay, Jordan.
Yes, Karen, I've heard the idiom big data twice, thrice through the two presentations. What sources of big data you can do to provide numbers for SDGs? And what are the sources?
Okay, who want to go first?
Can you repeat? I didn't get what the data sources we use for SDG monitoring.
Yes, you mentioned the big data. What kind of big data you use and the sources to provide this big data to be used for SDG monitoring or estimations?
Yeah, and so I mean, this is a different guidance, and we want to provide. Like, there are different big data sources like mobile phone data set, like image. It depends on what type of indicator, and so we try to collect the best practice. I think in the past 2 days, we heard from a lot of countries, like just the previous agenda item, we heard in many countries they use some the innovative approach and use satellite image and just spatial information for the SDG monitoring, and depend on the nature of the indicator and how to monitor that indicator. So from our point of view in a statistical division, so we try to collect all this good example together and put in one place. So when country is looking for answers, they can look at what have been done in other countries.
Okay, you want to add?
Okay, so in case of Poland, we started to use these Earth observations techniques, and thanks to For SDGs, yes. Thanks to this Data Science Academy Dominika was talking about, we started to cooperate with these experts, and they use satellite imagery to detect some data, and both with methodology for indicators, SDG indicators taken from UN, we are able to do some experimental statistics for SDGs.
And also, just to complete this question, this Copernicus program that was mentioned here today, this is the European program with free and available to use satellite images. So we have established a partnership with the Polish Space Academy, Polsa, there's of course also ESA, European Space Agency. Polsa is Polish Space Agency, not Academy, sorry for... so we have partnerships with them, and as Renata was mentioning, we use a lot within different types of capacity development projects as well. SatMirol, there was a project like this in Statistics Poland. We use a lot statistical imagery. Thank you for the question.
Okay, Rhonda, please.
Thank you very much for the good presentation. I'm having a question, the similar question about the big data and the use of satellite imageries for estimating SDGs indicators. Can you please tell us which indicators you have already started or you have already produced the values for using the satellite imageries? Because we in Rwanda, we are also developing capacities to use satellite imageries, but we should learn from your side once we know which indicators have already been produced. The second thing is about the communication, data communication. You've talked about the infographics. So you know that in this era of ICT development, it is no longer necessary to reproduce some visual materials or visual icons. Do you have or you have already developed like a bank of vector imageries or images that can be used and reused for infographics and data visualizations? Thanks very much.
Okay, go.
Thank you. So I will start with answering your first question. We tried with few indicators. I don't remember all of them, but for sure we tried to use these experimental statistics with satellite imagery for 1171. It's share of land allocated to public open spaces in Polish cities. And in general, for goal 11, we started to use these innovative methods.
So one thing from my side. So we use those Earth observation methods to obtain data on the lower level of aggregation, of spatial aggregation. And I think that all indicators which are connected with the spatial, yes, so regional, local, you can obtain via those imageries, statistical imageries.
And I will take your second question. Thank you for that about the communication. You are very right. You are very right. That's why within this task team on communications in SDG-SG UNECE group, we have developed actually a communication kit, which is a bunch of ready-to-use materials and to adapt for national needs to communicate initially about the roadmap to zero, but it is going to be developed and because the task team is going to continue its work. So basically in the presentation, there is a link. You can access this link and you will find not only infographics, bookmarks, but also other materials. There's a very fancy video and we continue our work. We think about other kind of materials forming this kit. Is going to be, we think about ready-to-use calendars with social media tweets, like ready-to-use tweets to be adapted by NSOs, something that is actually easily duplicable and easily applicable for national needs. And the link is in our presentation. So we use it together. We develop it together with our colleagues from Albania. So just to acknowledge that. Thank you.
Okay, Hungary, please.
Thank you. I have a question to the Polish, let's say, delegation. Well, you said that you have this exercise of identifying the peoples who are willing to or going to or willing to work as in international corporations. Well, I'm pretty sure that you had a thought beforehand that who are those people who are already active in this field. How many more you have identified roughly? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. 100% more. Yeah. Like, you know, they were twice as much, twice as many, thanks to these tools, thanks to the granularity of these tools, because people found themselves there and they said, oh, okay, I'm able to do this, so I tick. Oh, I'm able to develop strategies for this, so I'm do this. And yes, so twice as much, twice as many. Thank you.
Thank you. To Yonggi, is there any timeline for updating information on good practices website? I could not see that in your presentation.
We have a timeline, but we welcome to anytime you send us the updated good practice, like questionnaires, update your information, provide new informations. And so this is a living, like a wiki site.
Okay, Palestine, please.
It's like a comment. When we started working on SDGs, we did an assessment for the Sustainable Development Goals and the related indicators, measuring and assessing the availability, blah, blah, blah. But a real assessment for capacity building we haven't done. But the most important thing from my point, that when you are doing your assessment, you have to have the motivation and to ensure that you have the fund and the sources and also the support to develop your capacity building. This is the most important thing.
I very much agree. Yes, you are right. Thank you for this comment. And actually, another kind of detail to share with you, because we've always wanted, after 2018, when we started being more active in international relations and statistical cooperation, we actually had a lot of discussion with our Ministry of Foreign Affairs, because we wanted to be counted as an official development aid, not only develop bilateral statistical projects with our partners, but to develop a country led projects. And we also wanted statistics to be mentioned in our national development strategy. And we succeeded for the first time in history that statistics is one of the priorities mentioned in our official development strategy. So it's also about visibility, this assessment. And you are very right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And this is a comment for Yonggi and the entire group here. The tools that are in there, the infographic templates, for example, they're excellent, and Canada is using them. We've modified them a little bit, but it's made it so much easier to prepare infographics. So I invite you, if you're thinking about using doing infographics, check out the templates because they're excellent.
Thank you, Kara. I'll send a message to Heather. She did a lot of work on this. And it's built on our many years of working on the global SDG reports. And so we started kind of using icons since 2015, and then build on the experience. So we try to answer Rwanda's questions. So we have this all available. You can download the icons. So there's 300 of them to cover all the SDGs and also COVID-19. And then we also try working on produce a small e-learning module to teach you how to use it in your presentation, in your publication, and create templates for that. And for your other questions on that satellite image and the geospatial information, so we can work with the IAEG working group on geospatial information, and they're currently working on this white paper on disaggregation by geographic location, and we can maybe ask the group to provide us some detailed guidance to collect all these indicators that can be produced using the satellite image. I know there's quite a number of the indicators that currently use satellite image, and maybe we can ask if the working group can help with more guidance on this.
Okay, great. So I think that we are ready to move forward to the next presentation. So thank you to you. You can go back now to your seat. With this, I'm very happy to welcome here to Elena Proden from UNITAR, who is now going to present the UN SDG Learn platform.
Sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to have a pleasure to present to you the UN SDG Learn Statistics Community page, the page that had been selected by the Interagency Expert Group to be used as the gateway to training and learning materials on SDG indicators. So as you will have seen from this presentation, you are going to see the page as it is right now. But also towards the end of my presentation, I will say a few words about some initial discussions that we had with colleagues from UNSD, also on the potential modifications that we may need to do to make the page more usable, user-friendly, also from the point of view of the Interagency Expert Group. So basically, just very briefly, why does this page exist already? So right now, it's been, in a way, a gateway for the global network of the institutions for statistical training. The idea was the following. When the UN SDG Learn gateway had been developed by UNITAR and my own institution and UN System Staff College, together with many other UN and non-UN partners, we had discussions with the UN Statistics Division and the GIST that it might be a very useful gateway also for the statistics community. And so we created the first community page dedicated to the statistics. So this page is was created as the page essentially for GIST members to use to basically promote, provide their materials through this page. But at the same time, and also basically the main custodian agency for the page is UN Statistics Division. And right now we would be looking also on how to actually modify and customize it to also make it more usable for the purposes of the SDG learning and training materials. So this is a brief preview. You can see right now the way it looks like. Basically, you have a search engine on the top. So you can type any keywords that would be relevant. And the idea would be also to update this page to reflect the SDG indicators, learning and training materials. Then if you scroll down, also you can see that in addition to the taxonomy based around 17 goals, and some cross-cutting areas such as Agenda 2030, breaking the silos and leave no one behind, we have also added a specialized taxonomy structured around the classification of statistical activities. So on this page, you see sort of the 5 main areas, but I will also show that there is also a drop-down menu and you can look by subcategories. So you can see here, yes, that's right. Basically, you can see different taxonomies. Then once you did your keyword search, for example, or you selected your category, you will land on this page. And then you will see different learning offerings that are relevant to your search. So you can search here, for example, by the type of learning, such as, for example, whether it's blended learning, facilitated e-learning, whether it's a self-paced course or not. And you can also search by, as I mentioned, more more detailed taxonomy around the classification of statistical activities. And you can also search, you can also basically, here you can see that indeed you can switch on and switch off the statistics theme. And you can also search here, for example, we've made a distinction between courses and microlearning. As you can see on the top, courses are in red and microlearning is in light gray. And we are discussing right now that it may be worthwhile for this page to merge everything and then actually create different types of, slightly different types of categories. For example, to have documentation or training and learning materials. Or, for example, also to have platforms. And there are a few other things that are under discussion. What is the best way to structure actually the types of learning that can be searched on this platform? Here it's basically, I think we jumped. Have we jumped by one page? Okay. This is strange, but it's okay. We can go to the next slide. So basically, this is just an example of a course that is promoted through the platform. If you maybe click, that's right, sorry. So basically, once you clicked on your selected course, you will see a page like that that gives a brief summary of the course. For example, the study time, the level, the languages in which it's available, whether there is a certification or not. And also, if you scroll down, you will see the learning objectives and some other key information for learners to take a decision whether it's a relevant course for them or not. But this is a gateway. It's not a learning management system. So basically, once you clicked on the course, you are being sent to the course provider. Here is an example of another course, but basically, I guess the key message here is that on the one hand, there is a backend system that allows, for example, partners who have learning and training available on SDG indicators to actually upload key information from the backend. And on the other hand, I think what's worth mentioning is that already right now we have a number of the custodian agencies who already provide their materials as GIST members through this gateway. For example, we have several, we have, for example, FAO, who have a lot of learning that is available through the gateway, and there are several others. So we can scroll down through these. These are just the examples of the courses that you can see in the end. Right now we have on the statistics community page, we have 91 courses, 69 microlearning, and more than 25 GIST members and other organizations had been providing access to their learning materials through this platform. We also have social media accounts that through which we help to promote the platform more broadly, also together with the UN Statistics Division. And perhaps the last slide, it's basically, these are a few things that we had been discussing on what kind of changes may need to be done to the platform. So there are some minor fine-tunings and changes that can be done relatively quickly because they don't require additional funding. But then in around half a year timeline, we will be able to consider more significant changes on how to restructure the platform. Among those, for example, as I mentioned, I think there were questions on whether we need to distinguish between courses and microlearning, or maybe we have like 4 bigger categories, in fact, and this could be organized differently to make it more user-friendly, and also to have for training materials on SDG indicators to have a group, basically. Then the other thing is, I think we were discussing whether it's worthwhile for the search engine to occupy all the space on the top. Maybe that could be somehow adapted and changed. And also, as you can see here, for example, as I mentioned, the idea was to merge courses and microlearning on the default page so that everything comes up together. And also so that learners could actually choose between courses, microlearning, documents, learning resources, platforms, and webinars. I guess these are the main changes that are under consideration. And we look forward also to any additional feedback. I understand that UN Statistics Division colleagues are collecting this feedback, and we'll be happy to continue supporting you on this matter. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Elena, for being here doing this presentation, and also thanks for the proposal of working together for having in one platform all the information available on training for SDGs. This is also a good example on how the IAEG-SDGs is connecting its work with the work of another groups, in this case with GIST, that is the acronym for the Global Network of Institutions for Statistical Training. Before opening the floor, I'm going to give now the floor to Daniel Esti from UNSD for our last presentation this afternoon on this agenda item. His presentation is the project UNSD FCDO project on SDG monitoring final report. Over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this would be a brief presentation to share with you what we have been doing the last 5 years on a project funded by FCDO. It started with DFID, now it's FCDO. So with 20 countries on supporting them in areas related to SDG monitoring. So we had 20 countries participating, 10 from Africa and 10 from Asia region. The project objective mainly focused on 3 core components. One is on capacity, improving the capacity of the NSOs in terms of SDG monitoring. Second one is helping them increase the availability of SDG indicators. This through our support and training, working through their data cleanup, getting ready, following established standard. And the third one, which was really critical for them, as you know, most of the SDG data sets are coming outside of the National Statistical Office. So helping them in the coordination of the NSS toward this implementing the SDG indicators as the NSO being the core kind of organization to collect and report and disseminate. With the practical implementation of this, the first one was focusing on the SDG data platforms. This was something that we were initially struggling to figure out how to support all these 20 countries, because most of the countries had at that time focused on their MDGs still. They're transitioning to SDGs, and there was a big gap in terms of platforms. It used to be UNICEF was providing, I don't know, most of you might remember the DevInfo environment, where they had all their information disseminated in DevInfo using MDGs, but UNICEF could not continue maintaining the platform and then transition to SDGs. So they were left, on air to figure out how to proceed with their platform. So there was a lot of effort that was given in this project on that part. The second one was helping them with their VNRs preparation, making sure that NSOs have a significant place in the voluntary national reporters. Usually this reporting is done through their planning ministry, and most of the time the NSOs take a backstage. So we were trying to promote the use of data and getting the data and the statisticians in front to be part of this process. Coordination would also was another focus that helped us increase the number of data, putting resources on how to do data sharing agreements, providing venue for the NSS to focus on SDG indicators, all sorts of things related to the coordination. The last piece, which we were also focusing on user engagement. That was something that we were not using in the areas where we had projects on MDGs. That was a feedback that we got from our MDG experience. So there was a lot of effort on user engagement. So these are the 4 areas of focus. So what did the project achieve in these 5 years? A lot of things have been focused on data modeling. This takes care of metadata, SDMX-based metadata exchange, development of metadata templates for the SDGs, development of the DSD, and then getting this into countries. And most of the countries we had from the 20, few of them were familiar with SDMX. So we had to do a lot of work to get the 20 countries up to speed in the use of SDMX and in the use of getting them to a standard, following a standard. How do we adopt an international standard and customize it to local needs? Halfway through the project, COVID hit, and then we had a bit of a backlash in adjusting our implementation, because we were doing a lot of in-country work, going to ministries, running training workshops on data, metadata, and user engagement. So all those things were disrupted for a couple of years because of COVID, but we transitioned into virtual environment where we provide most of the trainings online. Also, some countries were struggling in understanding the COVID-19 data response situation. So we collaborated with some international and private partners to help them produce data set related to COVID-19. So a kind of dashboard that Johns Hopkins were using was also pushed to some of them. So they use that to kind of disseminate their message and also show why data plays an important role even in the areas of adversity to a country. So that was well received during that period. At the end of the project, the last year, we were shifting into helping them into finding new data sources. The SDG geospatial roadmaps, this was introduced earlier this morning, that came in light, and we were helping a few countries who had advanced a bit in this area in helping them implementing this SDG roadmap. So we had experience with Burundi, Kyrgyzstan, and Rwanda. So there were a couple of workshops organized on how to implement this. So there were few indicators, SDG indicators, that were used to showcase its advantage. And as Karen was mentioning about Data4 now, even if Colombia is the first pioneer country in Data4 now, they're finishing. There are like 5 countries coming on board following the suit of Colombia. So these countries, some of them are part of this project. So we kind of helped a few of them to be part of this initiative. So the work continues. We have a dedicated website for the project where we have all the resources there. So we have all the workshop materials, the trainings, the webinars, some documentation guides are also available. And what makes it unique, also we have country pages, which is maintained by the countries who participate in these 4 areas. And then there's a lot of resources that you can find about these countries, what they have done in this project. We have a couple of them here. Rwanda is here. I see Jordan here too. So you can also talk to the guys. So the last phases, the last year we were trying to conclude the project, but we're shifting and putting resources into some kind of learning material. So what our experience was and how to transfer this to other countries who are interested in following suit. We just finished an e-learning material on SDG data modeling that is specific to SDGs based on SDMX standard that is being launched. We had created an SDG lab which helps countries to compare national data and global data and do some kind of testing that really helped them to follow up with custodian agencies in terms of identifying discrepancies, in terms of identifying methodology because of a specific way of collecting data. So those things are part of the project outcomes that are still being used. On the metadata, we did a lot of work on training countries on how to use a global metadata template and customize it to their need into the national context. An e-learning material is also produced. A lot of micro-learning, small video clips are also introduced because we have a metadata authoring tool that was developed by the project and being used by countries. As I mentioned, platforms, so that we've used a variety of platforms. So we had this motto of using whatever resources they have at the NSO level would be something that we start from. So nothing that we come with a kind of ready-made out-of-the-box software. No, we consider the country's standing. We talk to the countries of what they are using currently in their systems, and some of them already have a tool that they use. An example is PXWeb. Some of the countries already are using PXWeb for disseminating their data, the indicator data, not SDGs, but so we worked with them in integrating SDG data into their what they call data bank developed through PXWeb. Some of the African countries we've been helping out. We coordinated our support with African Development Bank, which they have a tool called the African Open Data Platform by African Development Bank, which they have been supporting. So we integrate the use of standards for data and metadata, introduction of SDMX exchange, all those things into the system they are using. So the African Development Bank was also a partner supporting some of the African countries. And there was a third component, which is called OpenSDG, developed by UK and US as an open source SDG platform. Some of the countries are using this. This is also something that we work with ONS to kind of take it to the next level and help the countries to develop their own platform using this. So some of the members here also use OpenSDG. I know Poland uses it, UK, and a number of them using this. Some have their own developed platform, which we also help it. So this kind of multitude of platform support kind of helps them to continue because they know what they are using and they can sustain it without us. So that was something that we were very careful from the beginning. User engagement, so we have produced an e-learning like the SDMX work. So this is something that we've been doing with both at the NSO and then at a larger extent to the NSS. So the user engagement requirement is not only at the statistical office, but also across the NSS. And we've been able to conduct a lot of workshops, webinars regarding this, and that also invited the NSS. Yonggi touched it a bit about the data dissemination. That is also part of a collaborative work with the project and UNSD and developing these tools for dissemination. So infographics, templates, and I think Kyrgyzstan did a lot of use of this to produce their national report and also for their VNR. So it's something that countries have been using. So this is a website of the project. If you have any interest in kind of knowing a bit more, you can send an email to this dedicated email account. So we'll be reaching out to you. So thank you for your time.
Okay, a tremendous job. A lot of results described and with diverse countries. Many thanks and a recognition for that. Communication for SDGs is key. That's the last but definitely not least step of the statistical production process. So the launch platforms would definitely contribute with enhancing the use of data as well as the data dissemination tool. Also, the SDMX protocols and advancements in data and metadata structures contribute for having more and more timely data available in those platforms. And the work for implementing the SDG geospatial roadmap will definitely contribute to both the dissemination of geolocated data and to fill data gaps through the use of satellite imagery. And beyond geospatial information, the spread work of the Data for Now initiative with non-traditional sources and methods is contributing to innovations and to widening data availability. With this, I'm opening now the floor to comments or considerations on both presentations. India, please.
Thank you. To Daniel. Any plan to extend this hand-holding, especially regarding SDMX, to other countries which are not part of this project?
Thank you. That's a very good question. So I don't know if you see the last point we're making is we're trying to make sure that we're transferring this knowledge into a kind of e-learning material, so you can pick it up like a self-paced kind of training. But we also support a specific SDMX implementation for SDGs. That comes from, usually we do it through regional organizations. So we've been doing it in Africa, we've been doing it in Asia. These are capacity building activities. One of UNSD's task is capacity development, but this one is in particular focused with countries because we had a dedicated project that supports it. It's something similar with Data for Now. We have a number of countries we're supporting. But if there is a need and a request that should be directed to UNSD, we have some capacity development support, but that's something that could be case-by-case basis, yeah.
Okay, CSEND, I see, and yeah. Uganda after CSEND, please.
Yeah, just wanted to say, you're giving a very good example, all of you up on the podium, of how 17 could be implemented and is being implemented. Congratulations, and thank you all for hard work and very useful products that you make available. Thank you.
Uganda, please.
Yes, thank you, Daniel, for your presentation. I think Uganda is one of the countries that benefited from this initiative. So given the fact that the project is ending now, and also based on the modalities of the database, how the database has usually been managed, where these beneficiary countries have not been having full access in terms of editing and so on. So what are the plans, sustainability plans, to ensure that the efforts that have been made so far don't go down the drain? Because like our case, Uganda, the National Statistical Office, the biggest worry is actually, if you remember, I don't know if you've been in these discussions with ADB and UNDESA that have been the custodian supporting agencies. Our discussion has been, okay, we're just supposed to get data and send it to you and populate the system. That's the open data portal. But then what will happen if, for instance, the project ends and, of course, not all indicators have data. We have to keep populating, of course, from on an ongoing basis. So what will definitely happen thereafter if the project is ending?
So sorry for my oversight. I only saw the two names here for Jordan. But yes, we have Palestine and we have Uganda also part of these 20 countries. This was something that we started discussing at the beginning when we were doing platform selection. So the platform selection is actually a consultative process between us, platform providers, international organization, and UBOS. So there was a conscious decision to go with platform X by UBOS. So we provided, we actually at the beginning, we had this international conference on national data platforms, which was held back in 2017, or if I remember, in New York. And we had all these stakeholders there presenting their platforms, what is good in this way and that way, and countries were also invited to kind of understand the process. And we had a longer period of time to decide. So one key thing we came out with was there were 4 principles that we wanted to make sure that countries kind of follow, and then they should also think of the standards and not the platform. So not to focus too much on the tool, but to focus on the standard. Anything which is standard based, just some structure that you can work on your own and then move. If the platform disappears, your data should stay intact, and then follows an international standard. So you can exchange it, you can port it to a different source. So for UBOS, it was the FDB platform that was picked. One of the key reasons at that time was UBOS would have a standing support from AFDB, which I think is still there. There might be some follow-up labs, but AFDB has committed to help actually all the African countries in provision of this support. This is a cloud platform, so there needs to be a standing support for UBOS. So as long as the African development is there and helping the region, they have a standing statistical capacity to help. So that was one of the key reasons why they picked the African development platform. So it should be something that you should be proud of, because you have the standing support after the project from AFDB. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think that we have first the Pacific Community, SPC, and then Rwanda.
Thank you. It's a question for all of you up there, I guess. On the surface, it seems like the appetite for training seems to have shifted from the sort of the basic calculation and methodology of the indicators more towards the data science, the data dissemination, and the communication, which is great because that's traditionally been the weaker area of statistical capacity. So is that a fair comment? And I guess, Yelena, are you able to comment from where you're seeing people go on your gateway as to the types of courses people are interested in doing now?
Okay, we're going to take also the comment from Rwanda.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for the presentation. I just want to tell you that we have also benefited from this project. As a result, we have a portal where we publish or we report on SDGs indicators using like open source developed, I think, by UK ONS. So if the project is phasing out, we should see how we keep collaborating either with UK ONS or UNSD in terms of maintaining the system. Otherwise, it may be like other projects that have been used or developed in terms of data portals, and then once the project is ended, the portals also ends. I will give an example of DevInfo that was supported by UNICEF, but once the project ended, then it stopped. So what are the measures we can take that to ensure that these data portals that were developed will keep being maintained or supported? We sometimes have some challenges or difficulties in uploading the data through SDMX templates, and we are happy to get support from either UNSD or UK Office of Statistics. So once the project is ended, how will it be? What will it be measures or strategies to keep maintaining these data portals? Thank you very much.
I'll just quickly take the Rwanda one because that's an easy answer for me. Yes, ONS was the initial, and UK were initially funding this project, and they transformed it into an open source project, which means you have a community support behind it. But for follow-up the UK ONS team has a standing team supporting countries. So I think this will remain, and then something that they are using themselves. It's not only for you. So the support to the system is there. So they have a very extended website on the tools, videos, and how-tos. And I think a number of countries have implemented it. So there is this community support, but also you have direct access to ONS. So they have a standing team supporting that platform. Yes, Canada.
I just want to make a clarification. OpenSDG was actually developed by the US first, and then upgraded by the ONS. And as you noted, the UK is still providing significant support, and there's countries that are adding different features into it so that anybody can use these new features.
Yeah, it used to be called the US-UK at the beginning. So transferred into OpenSDG, that would open up, it became full open source and full community support behind.
So in terms of the trends and interests in the type of training with regards to the SDGs, I would say it's still both. So for example, when it comes to the indicators, we last year we worked together with UNEP and UNCAP to develop an e-learning course on environmental SDG indicators, covering all environmental SDG indicators. And the course enjoyed immediately quite a high number of registrations. So at the same time, I think, yeah, I don't have the latest information, but when we were checking what courses are most visited, it's true that at the, yet a year ago, I would say maybe there was a course on UN Fundamental Principles of Official Statistics that was quite popular. I don't know what would be right now, which one would come up in the top list. And overall, when discussing, I think, training activities, it's true that we hear also a lot of interest, for example, around statistical literacy and user engagement. And within the global network of the institutions for statistical training, there is a task force on statistical literacy. And we are doing some work discussing, for example, how we could support, what kind of guidance we could provide to national statistical offices on how to, especially those where there are not a lot of statistical literacy initiatives, what they could do, how they could partner, etc., to promote this type of work. So I think it's both, in fact. It's so calculation of indicators, but also other topics related to the use of new data sources. The interest went up, I think, in particular also during the COVID time. And when it comes to the use of new data sources, there is also a separate big data working group, and I think some of the colleagues here may be involved in this work. They also work specifically on a training curriculum on the big data. But I hope when it comes to the SDG indicators that these materials would also be then featured through the gateway. And I think at some point we can take stock and see, in fact, we could see which ones enjoy higher demand.
Okay, well, great. With this, we are concluding the agenda item number 15 with great discussion. So many thanks again to the presenters and to all of you for your comments and considerations. We are ready now to go for a coffee break. So see you in 30 minutes back again.
Before everybody leaves, just don't leave yet.
Okay, we are doing a change. We are going to the final agenda item, so we can be ready to go. Okay, so for the agenda item 16, we have the work plan and next step. And for this, I'm going to have a presentation. Okay, we have now the presentation on the screen. So the activities of the group for November and March 2023 before the Statistical Commission. First, before finalizing this year, we are going to prepare the report for the 54 UNSCC and the IAEG-SDG December meeting. So in November, we have the preparation of the IAEG-SDG report to the 54th session of the Statistical Commission. We also have a possible background document ready from the working group of geospatial information that was also mentioned yesterday morning, the white paper on disaggregation by geographic location. And we are going to have our monthly meeting the 7th of December. Also, we are going to have the IAEG-SDG virtual meetings as is regular. So we have a closed meeting in January and March, and the dates are just to be defined. We also are going to hold biannual open meetings in the first quarter and the second quarter, and also in the fourth quarter. Just a note that the open meeting for the first quarter will be also the side event of the IAEG-SDGs in the margins of the 54th session of the Statistical Commission. And now we have for the work program of the group from March 2023 to February 2024. So first, we have the focus on the implementation of the indicator framework, including integrating geospatial information and statistics, sharing experiences and best practices on monitoring the SDGs, including on national SDG platforms, dashboards, portals, communication of data for SDGs, data disaggregation, inclusive data, and data innovations and national efforts in bridging data gaps for SDG indicators. Also, we have encouraging data innovation, including using non-traditional data sources. And finally, in this point, reviewing and making recommendations on capacity building for SDGs in coordination with the HLG PCCB. The second point that we have proposed is regularly review methodological developments and issues related to the indicators and their metadata, and improve the overall quality of metadata for the SDG indicators through the work program of the metadata subgroup. The next point, number 3, it's to continue the work stream on data disaggregation to provide further guidelines and liaise with the other working groups and existing mechanisms for the data disaggregation work. The point number 4, continue the work of the IAEG-SDG working groups on both SDMX and geospatial information, and review the work plans of the working groups to ensure that they are in line with the work of the IAEG-SDGs. The 5th point, continue the work of the task team on sustainable tourism. 6th point, continue with the 2025 comprehensive preparation, including the discussion of criteria and the proxy indicators. The 7th point, continue dialogues with custodian agencies to enhance the data flow process for global reporting on the SDGs. And one last point, hold biannual open meetings, including the 14th meeting of the IAEG-SDGs in the 4th quarter of 2023, and continue to interact through regular meetings. Thank you. So now the floor is open in case comments or questions may arise. Okay. I see no hands up for the moment. So with this, we are just going to the final agenda item, other businesses and closing of the meeting. Okay, so to close the meeting, I'm going to pass first you the floor back. So for some closing remarks.
Thank you, Karen. I really want to take an opportunity to thank all of you for your meaningful contributions to the 13th meeting of the IAEG. I think we've come such a long way from, those of you who were at those first few meetings. So we've come a long way in building the relationships and collaboration strategies, because I think we all now recognize that ultimately we have the same objective, and that's to implement the global framework and help achieve the SDGs. I also would like to thank colleagues from UNSD, including Yongi, Daniel, and Francesca, who are mostly here. Francesca's coming back, but also colleagues who remain in New York. So Heather Page, Paul Pacheco, and I'm probably missing some other ones. So thank you very much. It takes a lot of work to get the information and the logistics for this ready. So thank you to UNSD, colleagues from ESCAP who made our meeting here possible. This has been fantastic. And I'd also like to take a moment to thank my co-chair, Karen, who is leaving us after this meeting. It has been a real pleasure to work with you. You've taken the bar really high, so I'm going to bring it back down. You've just made it such a pleasure to work with you. So I wish you all the best. I hope sometime that you'll go back to Dane or maybe come to Statistics Canada, because I'm pretty sure we could use you. But it has been a real pleasure. Again, this is so nice to meet everybody in face to face. And our relationships we just started right where we left off in 2019, and we met new friends while we were here. So thank you all. And Karen, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to pass the floor to UNSD for some closing remarks.
Thank you. Well, what can I say? I think Kara said it all. From our side, also a huge thank to all of you for being here, for making this so productive and useful. I think we have a lot of lessons learned from this meeting, and we can certainly treasure them and use them for our work as we continue to support the implementation of the framework. I think we've seen that the attention has shifted from looking at the specific indicators to looking at the solutions on how to make this happen in each individual country, really implementing the framework to sort of ensure the progress and make sure that we can advance the agenda. So I think it's been really, really very, very useful and interesting. And also goodbye to Karen. We really, really feel terrible that you live in Dane. Not only you're living as co-chair, but you live in Dane, and your office has been an incredible partner for all of us, I'm sure, not just for UNSD, but all the other colleagues in the global data and statistical community. We benefited so much, including during the Data for Now project. Has been an incredible experience for us. So we're very sorry, but I know you have a very interesting new job ahead. So I'm sure you'll do great, and we'll continue to be in touch. And I think from our side, it's also been a pleasure to work with you. And I know now we have a very difficult life with Kara only. So thank you again. And some of you will be with us for the next couple of days. And we have another very interesting topic to cover. And we'll hear from your experiences again, and we'll learn a lot again. So looking forward to Thursday and Friday, those of you who will stay. And for the rest of us, but the rest of you who are leaving, safe travel. Hope to see you soon again. And we'll see you for sure during our virtual meetings. Again, we'll have to get used to the screen rather than being in person for a few more months. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thanks to all our colleagues in this building, our conference service colleagues who've been really, really great. Everything went smoothly and no hiccups. And to our colleagues at ESCAP Statistics Division and everybody else who
made this meeting possible. Back to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, and I don't know if Junji, you want to add something? Okay, well, so just time to say a goodbye to all of you. It was a pleasure to join the statistical community and also this group, and also a pleasure to chair the group, especially with you, Kara, as co-chair, and with the constant support of UNSD. I hope to see you again in the future. I'm going to move in the government too, so we are going to still be working with the 2030 agenda, now in the part of the policy side, using all these data. So again, many thanks to all of you, and we are closing now the session. Bye.